Good evening and welcome to Mr. Wilson CSEC Biology Live. It's CSEC Biology and HSB. I know we're a little behind time, but we had a power outage earlier. And to add to that, we had a fellow playing some music from this man. I don't know if it is his birthday or if it is his day. We had asked him to turn on the music when the light came back, and he did that. But as soon as he turned on his music, somebody turned on their music. And I tell you, it is really, really loud, and YouTube is not forgiving us for that, right? So if I post this with the noise in the background, the music in the background, what is going to happen is that I'm going to be flagged for copyrights violation. And I am not the person playing the music, but it is playing in the background. And once the feed should pick this up, we're going to be having a challenge. Good evening to you all from wherever you are in the Caribbean. In Jamaica, I want to big you up as well. I'm very happy that you joined us this evening. This is a special class. This is the only evening that we're going to be having this class. So I doubt we're going to be having a repeat of a Thursday class. This class comes as a result of some challenges we had yesterday, and we have actually put things in place to ensure that things will go well today. Might I also say, Amoy Lawrence yesterday said she inquired about HSB and she tried to find out if population was a part of HSB. I answered at the time yes, and it is still yes. But the thing about population for HSB, it goes a little deeper than it would have been for biology. So we'll have to be teaching you about the population graph, that type of a thing. So I'll be introducing some different types of graph for human and social biology. The persons who are doing biology, you really don't need to know it unless you plan to do environmental science later. However, if you did social study, you would have seen this demographic graph in social study. So yes, for human and social biology, there is, of course, environment and population and ecology in it, and we're going to be covering that. I want to also make an announcement that being that we are pretty much at the almost to the end of the syllabus, we are going to be dedicating the Wednesday class to HSB, because what we found out that at this point of the syllabus, we take a turn. So HSB is going to be doing some stuff and bio will be doing some stuff. The truth is, the content will continue to overlap somewhat. But what we're finding now that at this point, HSB is going a little deeper. Bio will not be studying much on disease, but HSB will be going way down into disease. So we have to now take this break on a Wednesday to do more HSB than we will do biology. It does not mean that persons who are doing biology should not come over and study with us, because I can assure you it will help you as you move into further studies. All right, so again, good evening, welcome. Those persons who are not locked and loaded as yet, I encourage you to come on over, be locked and loaded. You need to subscribe to be a part of the chat session. I did go out, and of course I wanted to contain this. I said to my music friends that I'm going to be here for at least an hour and a half, and I really don't want to go over that because I want them to enjoy themselves as much as you will be enjoying yourself in this lesson. There were some persons on before I came on. I realized that Otisha, who is always here with us. I mean, Otisha, big up yourself. Good night, Otisha, from over there in Guyana. I realized that my PTA president from work, she's online and she's trying to find out if I have updated my contact. No, my contact, everybody knows the story about my phone. I don't have a phone. My phone pretty much went up into flames as a result of the number of calls. I was getting something like 900 to 1,300 calls, messages per day. My phone could not manage that bit. I had to have it charged every minute, and one day it just went hot, and that was the end of the phone. I have not secured for myself a phone since then. But of course, Mr. Wilson will always take a phone as a donation. If you can give me one of those nice fancy one in a box, I will be up and running as soon as I get it, because I do have the internet service, but I don't have the phone as a gadget. I mean, yes, I have missed those 900 to 1,500 calls per day, but you understand that I get a little more time to spend with my friends on the internet. Jawawan, you are here. Big up yourself. Good night. You're coming to us from Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, we did look at the content today because we're going to be looking a little bit at resources. And we wanted you to be here just to tell us about the resource that you have in Trinidad and Tobago. As we had promised yesterday that we'll be talking about a little of the bauxite in Guyana. We're going to be talking about your energy-rich state, Trinidad and Tobago. And we're also going to be talking about our bauxite in Jamaica. And we're going to be looking at how we can conserve and use the resources that are available sustainably, that those who come after us, like Anai, you say, Anai was here yesterday, we want to ensure that we have something left that Anai and his family and Gran, they'll be able to live on this planet we continue to call Earth. So good evening, good night from wherever you are in the Caribbean. I observe that there are some persons who are watching us out of the United States of America. I want to say welcome to the show as well. Trinidad and Tobago continue to be our leading fans outside of Jamaica. And we want to say enough respect to that from our friends over there in Trinidad and Tobago. We have been eating a whole lot of sunshine snacks. So, of course, you know that we are on your side as much as you're on our side. Our friends from Guyana, they continue to be loaded and locked in. They are watching just about all of our videos online, and we are really grateful for that. I don't know what has happened. I'm not seeing St. Vincent. I'm not seeing St. Lucia. I'm not seeing Grenada. I'm not sure if they are not sure. If they don't know that we're up back or we're ready for class, but I've not been seeing them online. I do check the statistics and ensure that all my family, they're here. So some of the family members, they are not in as yet. We're hoping that by next week, all the family members will be here. I think Jawawan told me yesterday that she had 2019 paper, and I'd asked you to send the 2019 paper to me. But, St. Vincent is here. Big up yourself, St. Vincent. I'm sure that I saw this name yesterday. We have to watch some more of the videos because I'm not seeing you over there when I look in the statistic. So, St. Vincent, big up yourself. All right. Yes, we are coming from Jamaica, and from time to time we use the local tongues, and where sometimes we get a little carried away. But if I do and you don't understand, just let me know and we'll rephrase it, or somebody in the room will do. All right. So we are here and we are ready to go. Sir, I have to get your email, but I told you that you were supposed to go on over to my channel. I think it is in about or in discussion, and you'll see the contact there, the email address, and you could send it for me. But if at the end of this session you're not able to access it, definitely I will be going over there to get the email address. I really don't remember. I have more than one email address for that same account. I know it's Extreme Solutions Jamaica. I know I have two different Extreme Solutions Jamaica, but I want to ensure that it goes to the correct one. So the correct one is the one that is on this page, or the one I used to log on here. Now, yesterday I'd asked you to look at the sigmoid growth curve, and you pulled that up nicely for me. We spoke about it. I'm not too sure if anybody wants to ask anything about the sigmoid growth curve or the J curve, which we expounded on yesterday. Today, I'm going to ask you, just before we get into the lesson, I want you to pull for me the love canal. And if I'm teaching you environmental science, I'll be pulling these a lot. The love canal, and I want you to pull minimata, which is minimata disease, which are mercury poisoning. And of course, the love canal is pretty much a misuse of land. And that is a very sad story out of the USA. And we want to talk about that as we talk about resource and use of resource. So you want to familiarize yourself with the love canal, and you want to familiarize yourself with the minimata disease, which is mercury poisoning. I did also mention yesterday another thing that we call the RLC. Might I also say these are not listed in your biology book or on your biology syllabus, but being that I'm an environmental science teacher and I know that these are prime examples, if we want to pull real examples that we're like, we really have a trouble. We really have some trouble. Then I really have to pull these type of examples for you to see that what we're talking about, it is not joke. These are real things that are happening. When we talk about Exxon Valdez, when we talk about the gray skies of 1952, right? And I could go Bhopal gas tragedy, and we could go on and on and on and talk about the many man-made and natural disasters. And those are some of the things that are contributing to, of course, the degradation of our environment. Yesterday, we touched on some wonderful words, some words that we have not been seeing in the syllabus, but we've been seeing them on the exam paper. Now, it's very important that you look at those words again. I went through my book here today, and I ensure that I try to find out, is there anything there about biodegradation, or is it biodegradable? I'm observing that it is biodegradable, but not biodegradation, but we're seeing biodegradation on the exam paper. So do ensure that you would have written that off and you are up and ready. You would have watched the video again and you are able to make your notes. Remember, this feed this evening is for those students who are doing biology and HSB. To be honest with you, it might help some students who are doing integrated science, but I have never taught integrated science at this level, so I'm not too certain what the syllabus looks like, and I really don't have the time to really go into that. But as we go along, if you are doing integrated science and you find something useful in the content that we offer, you're welcome to, of course, drink from the fountain. So this evening, we are going to continue where we left off yesterday. We were looking at population, and we're looking at some factors that, of course, influence the growth of the human population. I don't know what's wrong with Anai. This time of the evening is usually his time of the evening. He's upstairs, and I'm sure that you're hearing him now, right? But I really don't know. But never mind. He's probably just crying because he's not here looking at you guys. All right. So yesterday we were talking about the growth of the human population. And of course, we said that there's a slight difference between the growth of other population versus the human population. And as biology students, I'm sure that you can attest to that. When I say biology, I'm talking about both HSB and straight biology because it's still biology. All right. I'm sure you can attest to that because the first thing will come to your mind is that we have a large forebrain, right? And we're able to, of course, process conscious thought. So as such, the way we grow as a people or as a population is, of course, going to be different than other organisms would have grown. So yesterday we looked at space, and we looked at food. Today we're going to be looking at disease, predation, and I've also added climate to the growth or the lack thereof of human population. So disease continue to be our major problem. Continue to be one of those driving forces, if we can use that word, that retards the growth of the human population. And we're going to be looking at what we have done so far to combat this problem as a people. Now, disease, we have been able to extend life expectancy, right? The length of time that you live. We have been able to, of course, extend that. Now, what we have been doing constant study of these diseases. That's one thing that we have done. And of course, we are able now to understand the changes that there are with disease. For example, we know when we are going to be having what we want to call an influx of mosquito or a whole lot of mosquito, and we know when we are supposed to fog. We know when we are supposed to go and get the flu shot. We start to understand that. We know that if we light a fire outside, it is going to affect our asthma, that type of a thing. We know that we should not eat too much sugar if we have diabetes or so on. We know that we need to exercise and stay fit and all of that. And all that is as a result of us constantly studying these diseases. As such, we are able to lengthen the time that we live. And that has, of course, contributed to the growth in the human population. Now, we're able to efficiently and nicely, of course, predict or observe or tell of signs and symptoms of disease. Now, if Amoy is not here as yet, but if you are doing HSB, this is a big one for you. You need to understand the difference between signs and symptoms. And I've done this before, but I'm going to do it again. Signs refer to those things that you can see. All right? He's having a cold sweat. He's sweating on the forehead. Right? He's having a fever based on that increase in body temperature. You can see that he has a rash. You can see that. All right? There are spots on the skin. You can see that. All those are signs. Signs are things that I like to tell my students. You can see them or you can use equipment to detect them. Like the thermometer, you can use it to determine that there is a spike in the body temperature. All right? Very good. You're here for the first. Big up yourself. Now, symptoms, on the other hand, are those things that the patient will have to tell you about. All right. So I'm having a belly ache. All right. That's a symptom of something. I'm having a headache. That's, of course, a symptom of something. It is, you will have to communicate that to your doctor. So when you go to the doctor is, going, of course, going to look for some signs, but he's going to ask you about the symptoms. All right. Are you having a pain here? What about here? What about here? That type of thing the doctor will ask. Now, we're able to, of course, think about prevention or put preventative measures in place that we're not affected by disease. One of the things that we have to do, we have to proper hygiene. It's very important we practice proper hygiene. Right? When we practice proper hygiene, we're sure that we're not going to be poisoned by the food we eat. We're sure that we're not going to be bitten by things like you have some little bugs and so on that bite. I really don't want to call all the names, right? We're sure that we're not going to be having some rash that is as a result of how we lived our life, that type of a thing. All right? We're sure that we're not going to be should I use this word? Be promiscuous. I know in Jamaica, promiscuity is a big problem. So we are going to be sticking to one partner, monogamy. We are going to stick to one partner, not having several partners, and then we expose ourselves to all the various type of lifestyle disease and so on. We don't want to do that. So we are able to now look to determine or speak about address signs. We're able to address symptoms. We're able to, of course, deal with prevention, what we should not do. If we don't do this, then we'll be saved. We're able to, of course, in some cases, deal with the cure. Now, if you think, for example, this is on the syllabus, if you were supposed to think about a disease like the disease that is caused by the gonococcus bacteria, the disease that is called gonorrhea. Gonorrhea is a zoonosis for those persons who are doing agriculture. What it means is that's a disease that can transfer from man to animal, animal to man. So take, for example, gonorrhea. You could take some medication to get rid of that. So there are some diseases that we, of course, have cure for. But of course, like the viruses, we have no cure for that. I saw that question on the 2018 and 2017 paper. And we have no cure for viruses. One of the reasons is that they continue to change. You would have heard about the different strains for COVID. So while we can treat some of these virus problems, we really can't cure them because they continue to what we want to call mutate. They continue to mutate. So that is one of the driving factor, the key factor that why we really can't cure AIDS, because the pathogen, the virus, it continues to change. What we would say for our case, it continues to evolve, but it continues to mutate. All right, good. So for those persons who are here for the first time, welcome. We're looking at disease and what we have done as a population to, of course, extend life expectancy, because disease is one of those things that is, of course, wreaking havoc on our population. Now, we have made advances in, this is another, so we spoke about studying, we spoke about signs, symptom, prevention, cure, or we have treated with that. We have also improved, we have major improvement in our post and prenatal care. So when babies are born, in most cases, they are living to that 70 that our Bible would have spoken about. All right, so natal care, that includes prenatal and postnatal care, that has to do with baby, before the baby born and after the baby born, that has improved significantly. And as a result, our population is growing because we have more persons being added to the population. If this weren't so, what would have happened is that we would have a higher death rate than we do have a birth rate. Now remember, if birth rate is higher than death rate, and these are two nice words I'm going to give you, I'm going to ask somebody to just type them in the chat for me, the meaning. Immigration with an I, what does immigration mean versus emigration with an E, right? So if we're having more persons coming into our population, and we're having, by whether they are coming in by, I want to say, immigration, or whether they are coming in by birth, then naturally, if that is greater than the emigration and greater than the death, then of course your population will increase. So we have also made, major strides with medicine. We have a medicine for everything now. In some cases, you don't have to go to the doctor. You're having a problem. You know the signs and symptoms of flu. And when you start to come down with the flu, what you do, you up on over to the pharmacy, and the first thing that you say, may I have a sachet of something with vitamin C, and you take that for your the signs or the symptoms of cold, or probably if you are from a rural area, you might boil up some bush or something like that, and that takes care of a cold. So we're still on disease, and we're pretty much almost at the end of disease. Some of the strides that we have made with dealing with disease that would have enabled our population to grow. Now, where education is concerned, almost every country, the world, what is it? World Health Organization and the local bodies, ministries, so on, they are doing an awesome job with education. And when it comes to education, you might have the content, but reaching the people is usually a problem. So we have seen where for education, they are putting out posters for those who can read. You have town cry for those persons who don't have any radio. You have television who want the audio visual. You have persons who can get it on a radio. And you have little community meetings. We are sending the message through the schools so the little children can take it home from basic school. So we are doing a good job across the world with education. And this education of disease and how we can mitigate it has driven the growth in our population. So thank you very much, Jazel. Jazel, immigration to come to a foreign country to live permanently. That is wonderful. So when you say IMI, the I usually tell my NV student that one means come in. So if we talk about immigration, we are coming in. Now, emigration, I don't want to tell you, you have to do a little research and then I'll endorse it. All right, so there we have looked at disease. So remember some of the advancement that we have made. We have done a lot of studies on it. Now we are able to detect signs, symptom, prevention, cure. We have made strides with prenatal and postnatal care. We have, of course, implemented technology. I didn't talk about that. The various technology. Hey, you have a thermometer, I can tell if you have fever. You have technology, you can test for COVID now. When you do that test, and it is very important, might I add here, that you are able to do your various SBA labs, because it is out of these labs that you grow to be personnel who are able to administer these tests to save lives. Wrong diagnosis could mean the life of someone. It could be you, it could be somebody else. All right, so you have to ensure that you understand the labs, what you're doing, and you're able to interpret the outcome. Very good. Let's move right along. So we're going to be looking now at predation, predator, prey. How is it that our population is growing despite there are other population that are kept well in check, right at carrying capacity, as the predator helped to keep them in check? Now, as it were, for human, we have established communities. Jawawan probably live in a nice community where she have a gated scheme and security guards. And if she's not living in that type of a setting, she has a neighbor very, very close or so on. I don't know what Trinidad is like. I'm just chatting off my mouth here. And Macmillan from St. Vincent might very well have a well-fenced yard, so then you won't have organism coming over. If you are coming from Cayman, I know that you have iguanas over there, and as Jamaicans, we're afraid of those big lizards. We're not afraid of the small ones, but we're really afraid of the big one. So of course, persons have fenced area so they can keep out predators. Like crocodile in Jamaica, we have crocodiles. We live very friendly with them. We shouldn't. There's a fine. It's a protected organism in Jamaica. So like Portmore and so on, down in St. Elizabeth, St. Thomas, we have crocodiles that sometime, because they have been placed on the edge, because we have taken over their habitat to live and so on, they tend to somewhat come out in our area, and that sometimes causes a problem. But outside of that, Trini is very nice, very, very lovely people, sir. If you come, you won't want to leave. I feel I have the best neighbor in the world. There we go. There we go. I want to say the same thing about Jamaica, and I'm hoping that all the Jamaicans in the room, they are saying the same thing. We have, well, where I live, my neighbors, they really don't have fence houses. I really don't live in Kingston. I sort of live in Kingston, but I sort of live outside of Kingston as well. My house is outside of Kingston, and it is in one of those government built scheme. So if I just shout a little bit, my neighbor will be over. If my light is out or anything, I can call on my neighbor. So you see that I am well protected from predators, because if I were supposed to be attacked, I could just scream out and my neighbors will be there to assist. Now, we have a better understanding of predators, and I am going to go as small as mosquitoes. So we know when the mosquitoes are going to come after the heavy shower of rain, and then your local body, they'll be sending out persons to fog these mosquitoes with, most time it's compressed malathion, and that will, of course, control the mosquito, so we are able to survive that predator. I mean, we cannot overcome chick-V and zick-V. Remember, the mosquito is a predator to human. All right. And the entire Caribbean, I'm sure that you suffered from chick-V. But we're doing well now when we understand most countries, crocodile are always on the road. There we go. We have overcome the chick-V problem, and now we are better prepared. Very often now you're seeing most of the Caribbean island, they have sophisticated fog machine that does go through and, of course, take care of the mosquito. Now, we can, of course, deal with competition, because while we talk about predation, there's also competition for limited resource. And let me tell you in Jamaica about competition, a very simple way. We could think about, when we talk about competition, we could also take into consideration biological control. But like when there's a parish at Trelawney. I visited some friends in Trelawney, Bunkers, I think it's called Bunkers Hill, or wait a bit, somewhere down there. Forgive me if I don't have it right. But forgive me if I don't have it right. And when I went there, I realized that there was this statue in the here like this. They call them scarecrow. They have them in their field, I think, to scare away birds that are competing with them for the agriculture produce that they are, of course, farming, whatever, right? So we have ways to deal with competition, and that is one type of competition. We could think about, we have human as competition as well, and in some cases what we do, we employ security guards and so on to ensure that while we are not there, the crop, the stock is protected from persons, from predator and so on. So that is a type of competition. Predator is a type of competition. Now, technology. For predator, we're able to protect ourselves with the technology. There are persons who are putting up cameras and so on, so you can see when things are happening. There are some persons who are putting up sensors, so you can see what is happening. So with all these, we are able to better protect ourselves from predator. And because we are better able to protect ourselves from predator, the life expectancy in the population is much higher. So you don't need to have 24 children anymore. Fearful. Yesterday I spoke about R species and K species. I don't know if anybody researched that. All right. We don't have to have 24 children now and wish that actually 2 or 3 will come to fruition and will grow up to be adults, because we can protect ourselves from disease. We can protect ourselves from predators. We have machines that are helping us to protect ourselves. We spoke about the fog machine. We have tools. We have, of course, we spoke about cameras and sensors. All those are protecting us from predators. So we have looked at how we have enhanced life expectancy. We have looked at our disease, our ability to control disease, our ability to respond to disease and respond to predator, how those have contributed to the growth of the human population. I have not seen anything about climate, but I had to put climate in it. I mean, you don't want not to talk about climate. When we talk about climate, we could go way back to the grey skies of 1952 in England. What happened there is that it was really, really cold, and everybody was burning charcoal, and you know that the carbon monoxide thing, and I think over 2,000 persons died. We don't want to have that. In St. Mary, I think electricity went, or some weather condition, I don't remember what it was, and they turned on the generator. The generator, remember that carbon dioxide is odorless, tasteless gas. And the thing about carbon dioxide is that it attaches itself more readily to hemoglobin than does oxygen. So what happens is that as soon as you start to inhale this carbon monoxide, what happens is that you feel sleepy. But it's not sleepy, you really feel sleepy. You're really dying. right? So let me just take this opportunity to remind us, regardless of the inclement weather condition that we're having, do not start a generator in your house. It must be isolated from where you live so that it is, of course, it's well ventilated. You can have, of course, the carbon monoxide going out into the air, with which we have a scrub on it and so on, but you don't want to have it in your house. All right. So climatic condition is very, very important. When we did, I don't want to say that. One of the things about the advances that we have made in the Caribbean is because if we were supposed to look at hurricanes. We're affected by hurricanes in the Caribbean. So our engineer practice has, seen significant improvement over the years. One other thing we can speak to here in Jamaica, I think they say that we have pretty much some of the best architecture in the Caribbean. We can speak to building houses using steels. We can speak of building houses using concrete blocks. We can speak about many other things, well organized, and you really can't build a house in Jamaica. It is illegal to build a house in Jamaica without a plan that is approved by your parish council. It is illegal if you do that, because a house could be a weapon to you. So if you do that, of course, you would have breached the law here in Jamaica. I'm not too sure what it is like in St. Vincent or what it is like in Barbados or Trinidad or Tobago and Guyana. What I can also say about the Caribbean, persons who are living in low-lying area, we understand the weather condition. As such, we are building houses and props. So if you are in low-lying area, when it floods, if you were supposed to go down to Westmoreland, places in Westmoreland, you realize that the houses, they are elevated so that when it flood, when there's a flooding, they tend to have an idea as to how high it would flood. So they will build the house elevated, and of course the water will just go under. So that is one of the things we understand better. Here in Jamaica, we can tell you, if you are in St. Thomas and if you are going to school, be very careful, because the Plant Garden River is going to come down anywhere about May or October when it rains. So we're able to do that in order to protect ourselves. Prior to us studying all of this, what would have happened? When it rains, person would have been flooded out, person would have drowned, livestock and property, we would have lost all of those. But because we have been studying the climate, and the weather pattern, because we have no technology, you could just turn on your television or you could just go on your phone and you could understand what the weather is like in your area, and all that we're better able to prepare. Now we have hurricane warning system. When there's a hurricane, everybody knows how many hurricanes we're going to have for the season. We know where when they are coming, where they are going, and we can prepare ourselves. There's also tsunami warning system now in the Caribbean that can protect us from a tsunami. So if we're going to be having a tsunami, we can say, well, listen to me, move on to higher ground. All right. So because of all these technology, because of all these work that is put in by locals, by persons in the Caribbean, by many organizations, we're able to, of course, extend our life expectancy. So we spoke about the technology, we spoke about engineering, the education as well. Persons understand. There are persons who are doing geography at school. There are persons who are doing biology. There are persons who are doing social study. There are persons who are doing agriculture. And in all these subjects, you will be exposed to some amount of climate, weather, environmental situation, and how to better protect yourself. And you are able to take this to your community and so on. So we have seen some advances in climate, our understanding climate, and that has helped us to, of course, extend life expectancy. With agriculture, we now understand the weather, and we have manipulated weather so that I think in Beijing, when we had the Beijing Olympic, China manipulated the weather so that no rain could fall. If you're in Jamaica, you might recall or heard of a time when they had seen the cloud and there was some mass flooding in Magati, St. Elizabeth. That is manipulating the weather. Now, what we do, we really don't do that in Jamaica anymore, as far as I know. But what we do, we tend to move the water. We tend to move the water from rivers and stream and wells and so on. And we tend to carry this water to farms and so on. We have dams and we take the water to farms, and we are able now to, of course, not only to rely on rain, but we can farm right through the year. We don't have to wait on like I said, the rainy season. Now, as I talk about agriculture and manipulating weather and so on and so forth, I spoke about the RLC earlier. The RLC was this big lake, right? And they had drained this lake using the water for agricultural purposes until it became dry. You could look at that when we talk about water and misuse of water. We could look at the RLC. You could look for that and use it as an example. I'm sure they'll accept it because it is a known fact. All right. The other thing we want to talk about here as we leave from the growth of human population, we want to talk about disease. Just a little bit more about disease. Now, disease is still a major concern to human. And I made mention that viruses, we have a problem curing viruses because they continue to change. I did also make mention that the population will grow once the birth rate and the immigration rate is higher than the emigration rate and, of course, the death rate. Now, do we have any concerns before I move on? So I have just completed population growth of human, and I look at some of the advances that we have, some of the manipulation, some of these things you knew them already. It's it was just to just put them together and to say this is what it is, and of course I can treat with it. Where is the RLC located? I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't remember. But the RLC, you could go Google it or Zoom it. It's or if you can't find it, just type in man-made disaster, and I'm sure it will pop up somewhere. I don't remember where it's located. I'm very, very sorry. I'm very sorry. All right. So, all right. I'm going to now just remind you of something. Once there is production, there is waste. Once there is production, there is waste. It is sad to say that more affluent countries are what we call those countries we call first world countries. They do have some amount of disease, but disease is not so much a major factor unless it's like a pandemic that affects the entire world. Their citizens tend to be more affected by what we call degenerative disease. They tend to be affected more by degenerative disease. And degenerative disease are those diseases that affect you as you tend to grow older. While in poorer countries that are less affluent, they are affected or plagued by diseases. And in most cases, their lifespan is cut short as a result of disease. All right? So we want to be sure that we understand that. Now, one other thing before I move on is to look at our control of our population growth is nicely done right across the world with human. I think we are the only set of organisms that are able to really control, manipulate our population. And one good way in which we control population is by what? Type it in the chat for me because you're falling asleep. How do we control our population? Type it in the chat for me. My adult learners, please type it in the chat for me. How do you control population? Tell me one method, that popular method that everybody uses. Type it in the chat for me. Come on, guys, don't fall asleep on me now. That popular method, I'm waiting for that popular method. I give you a C. Use contraception, contraceptive, exactly. So when you see that on the exam paper, it tends to appear on the exam paper a whole lot. Birth control, contraceptive, whichever one you want to call it. Yes, birth control, very good. When you see it on the exam paper, make sure that you observe that the spelling is right. Don't let them trick you with any other word. Contraceptive. All right, when you see it, and remember, contraceptive, they are not necessarily used to prevent STI. sexually transmitted infection or sexually transmitted disease. There are some that are able to do that, but there are others which cannot control or prevent the transmission of those diseases that are transmitted sexually. All right. So we want to ensure that we understand that. So they go by family planning, birth control, contraceptive. That is how we control the growth of our population. I mean, if we didn't have that, I tell you, some persons are saying legislation. All right. So, and then, I mean, that is another big topic. We could, what we refer to that as is, we could talk about legislation. We could talk about the carrot cash approach. And when you talk about legislation, that is China. Very good, like China was doing the one-child policy. Yeah, they talk about the one-child policy, but that was really in the urban area. If you are wealthy, you were allowed to have more than one kid. And if you were doing agriculture, you were allowed to have more than one kid. And during that time, of course, China has more male than female. Go and read on the China one-child policy. I don't want to dig up that too much. It might be too much politics in the air right now. All right. So you could use legislation, and there are some countries that are using the carrot catch approach because the aging population. That is why you want to catch me next week, Wednesday, when I look at population and the demographic graph, and I do explain what is happening with some countries that have very old person and what they are doing to, of course, grow their population. If you are even biology student or if you are doing environmental science, you don't want to miss that lesson next week, Wednesday. The persons who are doing HSB, ensure that you log on to it, because in most cases you are not taught, because it's at the end of the syllabus, and most cases teachers don't reach the end of the syllabus. But we're going to reach it here, so no need to worry. If you are loaded and locked in out there in distant land, remember you can just log on, or you can just, of course, create a YouTube account and join us so that you can be a part of the chat. We're having a good time here. We're looking at, of course, biology, HSB, we're looking at population, and we're looking at resources. We're going to be now looking at, of course, resources in the Caribbean, because it's a regional exam, so we're going to be looking at some resources in the Caribbean. Might I just ask my friends, my family, the family in the room, what is resource? Type it in the chat for me. What's resource? I want to know what's resource. Type that very quickly in the chat. You know that I like the fast finger thing. And after we're finished typing what's resource, then I want you to give me example. Resource can be classified into two groups. I want you to tell me about those two groups. Please be reminded to like, share, and of course, subscribe. Might I also advise you, I know that the carbon cycle is not out as yet. I completed it, but I'm looking at how you view the stuff. And I think we are going to be cutting the carbon cycle into three, where we are going to be presenting the carbon cycle, we are going to be presenting greenhouse effect, and we are going to be presenting global warming using 3 different videos. Because we realize that when we look at the watch time, you're not watching the video as long as we wanted you to watch them. So we're going to see if we can just give you just the amount that you can manage, a mouthful. And this evening, we're going to be sending out what is an enzyme. And of course, we are going to be treating it from the Caribbean perspective. We have gone through some textbooks. I'm waiting on you guys. Is this the last class? No. We're going to be having class right up until exams. No. We have classes on a Wednesday, on a Friday, and on a Sunday. We're going to be having class right up until exams. Go with me. Remember, the past papers are on the channel. You need to go and master those. We have other past papers to go up, and we did promise that next week we'll be putting up some past papers for HSB. But let me get back to what I was just saying. What was I saying just now? I'm getting old. Who was listening? Let me see who was listening. I am still waiting. I want to find out what is resource. And after you would have, of course, tell us what is resource, we want to also find out about those two big group of resources. All right. So we're going to be putting out, this is what I was saying. We're going to be putting out this evening enzyme. What is an enzyme? And we're going to be doing it from the Caribbean standpoint. What we have realized, listening to a number of teachers and students, is that students continue to think that enzymes are organisms. So what I did, I went through a couple of books. a couple of books, and what we realized that there is a word that is used when we are talking about enzymes that might be the problem. Might be a problem. No man, not resource, not resource. I want to know what is resource, not add plus. I want to know what is resource. What I was talking about was an enzyme. There's a word that is used when we are talking about enzyme, where I think most definition is saying at the end of the definition is say where they themselves they are not changed. And once you start telling students about themselves, you start to use the personification. Then you start to mixing up the students, start to confuse the students, and because of that, a lot of students are considering or still have this concept that enzymes are organisms. Enzymes are just chemicals. All right, enzyme, it's just chemical. I want to use it. It's chemical. All right, it's not that when you talk about enzyme, we're not talking about organisms. All right, so very good. Let me see what's happening here. Hey, Tanisha, where are you? I haven't seen you for a while. Anything that can be harnessed and developed to satisfy the wants and need of something or someone. That's a resource. A resource is a source or supply which we benefit from. I was afraid to use that benefit because benefit, when we talk about benefit, it's always something positive in most cases. So I wanted to stay away from the word benefit, right? But pretty much that is what resources are. Guys, those persons who are here for the first time, please be reminded when I ask the questions, I am expecting that you will answer. In some cases, I'm just I'm getting a little rest to move on to, of course, the next phase. All right, so good. So resources, as Tanisha has said, it's anything that can be used to harness and develop to satisfy the wants and needs of something or someone. These are what I will refer to. We could call it subjects or features of the environment that are used by human for his or her various needs. Now, resources can be classified into two groups. We could have renewable resources and non-renewable resources. So with that said, because I know that you have this thing all locked, what are some of the renewable resources you can think about? List them in the chat for me. Renewable resources, that's what we're looking at now. What are some renewable resources? And I'm going to be giving you some from the syllabus. But let me see what you have there. Renewable resources. What do you have there as renewable resources? Remember, you can invite your friends on over. This class is free for everyone, anyone in the Caribbean. I don't need to know your name. I just need to know that you are doing the subject or subject and you can join. All right. You don't need to know us. It's fine. Just join and that's all right. It doesn't matter where you are. So water is a resource. It's a renewable resource. I'm going to be writing that down because when you talk about water, Macmillan, I am going to come back to you and we're going to be talking a little bit about the Minamata disease because you said that water is a renewable resource. So water, very good. So that's the first renewable resource. Anybody else? Minerals. That is a very strong one. We want to look at that. Let's just timber. Let's just look at. We'll just put mineral aside. Just put mineral aside just for a little bit. Just for a little bit. All right. So we talk about timber. Anything else? So we talk about water. Some persons say minerals. Some persons say timber. Some persons say metals. Giselle Gracie. But remember, Giselle Gracie, if you're a chem student, you know that metals are from ore. Tanisha is saying carbon. I wonder what you refer to as carbon. Is it carbon as in graphite and diamond? Air. A lot of resources. Not bad. All right, good. So you have said your piece. So just let me just share what I have with you. Now, resources, there's a long list of resources, and I don't think that we can ever end this list. I think it's an infinite list, infinite. All right. So examples of resources would include, of course, mineral. That's a resource. When we talk about bauxite and several other metal ores, of course, minerals, bauxite. Soil. The farmer uses soil. Like loam, sand, clay, of course, those are examples of resource. Then we have, of course, water, which is a resource. We have, I like to call it biotic component of the earth, or the bio, or the life. We talk about plants and animals. Those are resources. And we're going to be looking at them as renewable and non-renewable. So now we're just looking at them as resource. Then we have fuel, and we have fossil fuel, we have biomass, and we have a whole slate of energy. But now let us look at renewable resources. What is meant by renewable resource? When a resource is renewable, what it is? What we mean by that? Renewable resource. A renewable resource. Let's type it in the chat for me. What's a renewable resource? Give me a sec, I'll be back. Sorry. I'm back. All right, good. So when we talk about renewable resources, we're talking about resources that can be reused. All right? They can be reused or they can be replaced quickly. Now, it's very important that you observe that word quickly. All right? So if it's a renewable resource, it can be reused, one, and two, it can be replenished. Very, very good. That it can be replenished naturally. That's a very nice thing again, naturally. All right? Add plus things within the environment that replace themselves after use. Very good. But quickly is very important, because of course things will, if we were supposed to cut down all of Blue Mountain, or a fire was supposed to burn down all Blue Mountain, then you understand that after some time you're going to have first generation, the lichens and so on, and after some time you're going to have the forest again. But when we talk about renewable, quickly is very, very important. Renewable resources are natural and can be reused. All right, so a lot of persons giving me a lot of nice things here. Let us move on into renewable resource. I like the definitions here, especially the one from Macmillan that says that it can be replenished naturally. And I like this one that says things within the environment that can replace themselves after use. That is not bad. And renewable resources are natural and can be reused. But remember, quickly, and we are within a time, in a timely manner. That is very, very important, because yes, it can replenish itself, but if it's going to take another 20 million years, we can't consider that being renewable. All right, so some renewable resources, and I want you to look at these because these appear on your exam paper. And when they appear on the exam paper, in some cases we are thrown, we're like thrown to the wind, because we had it locked that water is a renewable resource. But can water be a non-renewable resource? So water is both renewable and non-renewable. And let us look at the differences that lie here. The difference that exists here is that water, if properly used, is a renewable resource. If you don't pollute it, it is a renewable resource. But if you had pollute the water, as it were, with the end of Mississippi, you could look at that and see the algal bloom. Or if it were water that was exposed to mercury poisoning, as it were with the Minamata case, and I gave you that to look for early, that type of a water is not renewable. So if it has been affected significantly by pollution, then in that case, the water is not a renewable resource. But once it has been properly used and cycled and all of that, then the water will be renewable. So remember, depending on how you're looking at the water, if it is highly polluted, as in the case of the mercury poisoning, the end of Mississippi, that type of thing, that is not a renewable resource. All right. If the water, of course, is properly used, if water is properly used and is free of contaminants and so on, of course, the water is renewable. Now, soil is a renewable resource, but soil is a renewable resource again if it is properly used. What if you strain and boil the polluted water? Tanisha, I like that question. I like that question. But if you strain and boil the water, while you'll be getting water and based on the temperature, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Nobody in their right frame of mind will tell you to go and get some mercury water and boil it and strain it and drink it. Because how much water will you boil and strain and drink for the entire population? Of course, you can purify water by boiling it, not strain so much. By boiling it and of course filtering it, which is straining, but by boiling it and getting that water droplet using a distillator or something like that, of course that could help. But I cannot say for sure that if you boil this water, it will be totally safe in some cases. Some cases, the amount of toxin in the water, it is probably too much for you to really treat with. So in some cases, we're not asking you to trouble that water. Just let that water stay over there, all right? That one will have this real heavy metals and this mercury stuff over there. Don't bother go trouble it, Tanisha. But if you are asking if water can be purified by boiling, yes, it can be purified by boiling. But when it reaches a certain stage, we just not bother trouble it. Because before you finish boiling that water, you might very well find yourself spinning in a circle like that. That is what happens when you are poisoned by mercury. You might find yourself spinning around like that. So we don't want you to go and trouble any contaminated water talking about you are going to boil it. Worse if it is contaminated to that level. All right? Please don't do that. All right? But yes, it is true you can boil water and purify it, but at that magnitude, do not trouble it. All right? Very good. I hope I made myself clear. That is something that we needed to look at. So we said that soil is a renewable resource, again, if it is properly used. And now we are going to turn our attention to the Love Canal. The Love Canal was a piece of landfill, and the Love Canal was, of course, used to bury some toxic stuff. And it was sold. It was sold for use in education. I think it was sold for $1. And all the persons in that area had to be relocated. I think the whole move and correction to the problem completed in 2004. But I want you to go and read on the Love Canal, what happened there. And that is pretty much a misuse of land or a case where the soil was no longer renewable. All right. So I gave you an example where the soil is not renewable. I gave you an example where the water is not renewable, as in water that is heavily polluted. You don't want to trouble that. All right. And there are some natural water bodies. There are some natural water bodies that they are toxic. Nothing can exist in it, and you cannot drink it. All right. So you probably could research that. So yes, we would have taught you about purifying water, but there are still some water that you're going to leave them alone. We're talking about purifying water, little water running, but some you don't want to trouble it. And when we come over HSB, if you do HSB, I will talk about water purification, and I sort of open your eyes to some things about water. You might probably stop drinking water. All right. So some of the water we're not going to trouble and even think about purifying unless you would have had greater training where water is concerned. You don't want to trouble it. Love Canal is located in New York. Yes, it is. All right. So I was on my renewable resources, and we're saying that soil is renewable if it is used properly. Water is renewable if it is used properly. And I want to say biotic life forms are renewable if they are used properly. And when I talk about life forms, I'm talking about things like fish. So if you don't overfish, then it will be renewable. But if you overfish, it's not going to be renewable. If you use the forest sustainably, when you take a plant, you plant a plant, then that is renewable. But if you go cutting down the entire forest for firewood or for whatever reason, way more than plants can regrow, then that is not renewable. So of course, you always have to, you will always have to take in consideration what or how these resources are being used before you can just consider them or write them off or list them as being renewable. You have to always mention if they are properly used, it is. If it is not properly used, as in the case of that, then it is not. Of course, we have, of course, things like energy. We're going to be looking at energy as a topic by itself, which we have some renewable energy, not fossil fuel. All right. So fossil fuel, once we use them, they are gone. They are resources, but they are non-renewable. So renewable resources, soil, forests, fish stock, some animals, water, and of course, we made mention of some things that we have to ensure that we understand how they are being used. All right, very good. So we are going to look at non-renewable resources now. Now, non-renewable resources are those resources that are in limited supply, and once they are used, they cannot be replaced or they are gone forever. Non-renewable. Once you use it, that's it. They're gone forever. Now, minerals, if you think about bauxite, I can talk about Jamaica. And you think about the many cavities that have been created in Manchester, St. Anne, all of these areas, they dig out these areas and remove the bauxite. Once it's mineral gone, that's it. It's gone forever. It's not coming back. It's gone forever. So mineral is, of course, non-renewable. Soil, if polluted, can become non-renewable, and we spoke about the Love Canal. Biotic, if we overfish, in most cases we have to have sanctuary. We have the Montego Bay Fish Sanctuary where we have to protect the fish. And in order to protect the fish stock in the Caribbean, there's a lot of things that we have done. You can't fish with a certain size net. You can't dive with air tank to fish. You have to have special permit in most cases to do some type of fishing. As it were, for birds, we have bird season, and we have laws which govern the type of birds that we can shoot. We have laws that govern the type of animals that we can eat. It is illegal to eat crocodile in Jamaica. There are some protected organisms that we really don't want to trouble. All right. So depending on how you use the resource, now you can eat as much lionfish as you can. That is what they are saying now. Right. So soil can be non-renewable. Mineral, they are non-renewable. Water can be non-renewable. Fossil fuel is non-renewable. But of course, we're going to be looking at, and when we talk about fossil fuel, we're talking about oil, coal, natural gas. They are non-renewable. Once we use them and they go, that's it. So we have looked at renewable and non-renewable resources as is outlined on the CXC syllabus or in the CXC syllabus. Energy. Everybody on the planet must have been exposed to some form of energy, even if it is the sun. We have to use energy in order to stay alive. The plant uses the sun energy for photosynthesis, and from that, we tend to get some food. What we're going to be looking at now, we're going to be just going a little bit in. No, we should talk a little more about energy. I'm going to ask Jawawan and Tanisha and Otisha to join me, and let us chat a little bit about energy and resource. We're going to be talking a little bit about the resources in Trinidad first. The content is showing me here that in Trinidad you have oil. Is it so, Jawawan and my other friends from Trinidad? I was told that you have oil, you have coal, you have natural gas, you have nuclear energy. Of course, you have biomass in firewood, and you have hydroelectricity. Are those the forms of energy that we have in Trinidad? Jawawan, who do we have here from Trinidad? Tell us what's happening in Trinidad. Do you have all these resources in Trinidad? Energy resource, oil, natural gas, coal, nuclear, hydroelectricity? Is my stream going through very slowly? Now tell me out of Guyana, St. Lucia. If I didn't call your country or your Caribbean island and you're here, just identify yourself for me and let us just have this chat. Guyana, you're here from Guyana. Are we still mining bauxite in Guyana? Is it a big thing in Guyana still? Solar. Solar, all right, Tanisha is out of Guyana. So solar, what is it that you harness from the solar energy? Is it that you're harnessing the photovoltaics, what we call PV, the one that gives you the light or the electric energy? Or is it that you're harnessing the region 10? What's region 10? Or is it that you're harnessing the heat energy? Oh, photovoltaics. So your PV, we call it photovoltaics, those flat cells that you see on top of most buildings now, PV, and that is harnessing energy from the sun, light energy. And of course, we have also the heat energy that you would have seen for the water heaters on top of the houses. We harness that in the Caribbean as well. So Tanisha, do we have bauxite being harnessed still in Guyana? Are you still harnessing bauxite, mining bauxite? By the way, bauxite is used to make aluminum, and we use it to make aircraft, cars, pots and pan utensils, aluminum foil that we use for cooking, a whole list of stuff we could think about. I think that my Jawawan friend, is there anybody here from Trinidad? Okay. Tanisha, forgive me, but I really don't know your area. I see you're telling us. I think I saw that. Yes, I think I saw that in the text. Lindell, Kawani area. Okay, so Macmillan is from Trinidad. Tell us about the energy resources that you have in Trinidad. Why are you laughing at me? Macmillan, you're from Trinidad, or you're from, where are you from? Remind me, please. You did tell me. You're from St. Vincent? Okay, so you're saying that those that I have listed, I am correct. So you have oil, natural gas, nuclear, hydroelectricity. All those are some resources that you have in Trinidad. All right, very well. What about, let me just move away from what is in the text and go a little further. Do you harness the power of the wind? Like you have wind turbines? Oh, you got stuck with pandemic. Hush, hush, Macmillan, hush. All right. In Trinidad, do we have wind turbines? I know that everybody is now harnessing solar. So in the Caribbean, the renewable energy that we are now harnessing, they include solar, that is from the sun. If you are from the Caribbean, every Caribbean island should be able to say, yeah, we can get the sun energy. We're harnessing hydroelectricity, that is electricity from water. You have a dam, the PE energy, and then it changes to KE, kinetic energy. Good. Okay, so in the Caribbean, we're harnessing, that's fine, Macmillan. We're harnessing solar energy, we're harnessing wind energy, and we're harnessing water energy, which is hydroelectricity. There are many types of water electricity, but we're just going to keep it for CXC at hydroelectricity because we could talk about wave, tide, and all of that. But I don't want to get you over there. All right. So hydroelectricity, then we have solar and we have wind. And you would have seen the solar with the water heater and the PV cell, the photovoltaic cell. And you would have seen, of course, the wind turbines, not windmill anymore. Windmill is the old ones that you used to use an animal go around and they crush corn and all of that. but these sophisticated ones, they call them now wind turbines. All right. So those are some energy that we can harness in the Caribbean. It doesn't matter which Caribbean island you're on. If you can't harness wind, because I think that there's only two places in Jamaica that we can really harness wind. One is in Manchester and one is in St. Mary. But the sun is everywhere. In Jamaica, we have a whole lot of solar farms. There are small farms, but we do have solar farms. Hydroelectricity, yes, we have hydroelectricity. I think we have one in Magati, and we have them around the place. We have some hydroelectric station in Jamaica, a couple of them well. Not wholly, but we do have some. I don't know Trinidad. I don't know if Trinidad has geothermal energy. This is energy we harness from the earth. I think you have like Geyser and so on, where you have this hot water coming from the earth and so on. I don't know if we have it in Trinidad, but that's also a type of solar. That's also a type of renewable energy. All right. So that's the energy thing from the Caribbean. We spoke about the renewable energy in the Caribbean. We also use biomass or firewood in the Caribbean. That is somewhat non-renewable. We don't want to tell anybody to go and cut down the tree them in the forest and they're going to make firewood, because we are going to probably end up like one of our Caribbean islands where we have this whole lot of bare space in our forests, and we don't want to have that, because we're going to end up having erosion. We're going to end up putting organisms on the edge. Organism is going to end up in the extinction vortex. Some organisms going to become endangered, and the list go on and on and on and on and on and on, and we don't want to go there. All right. So with bauxite in the Caribbean, bauxite is one of those stuff that we harness the ore from, of course, the ground, the soil. You might call it dirt. How it is done, we tend to remove the topsoil, because the topsoil usually contains the nutrient, a whole lot of the nutrient, because the plant root, most of the plants that we plant in vegetable and so on, the roots are just going about 18 inches into the soil. But we tend to move away the topsoil, and then we tend to bank it up somewhat, and then we remove the bauxite that is needed. Having removed the bauxite that is needed, it's going to leave us with some cavity. And what they tend to do is to reshape that area, that it's not so jaggedy that you're going to fall off and hurt yourself. So it is reshaped, and having reshaped, they are going to, of course, put back that topsoil on the land. The land is then used. What we refer to this land as, I think it's called reclaimed land. We refer to the land of the bauxite as reclaimed land. So we put the topsoil on this reclaimed land, and it is used for agriculture purposes. In some cases, it is used for housing development. All right. So the land is just not left there bare. It's usually left with a fallow, what in agriculture we call fallow, where we have plants growing on it. We might use it for agriculture purposes. We might, grow ackee. We have like orchards on these land, or we might have cow pastures on these land, depending. And I have already said, in some cases, we have cattle growing on the land. So it's used for agriculture purposes, and it is used for housing. All right, so that is what happens when you might need to tell that on your paper. On bauxite land, what do we do with the land after mining? It is used for agriculture. It is reshaped. One, the topsoil is placed on it, and then the land is used for housing or agricultural purposes. All right, that is pretty much pastures is still agriculture. That is pretty much what the reclaimed land is used for. We're doing well so far. We're going to be looking now at sustainable use of the resource. So we look at the resource, we're talking about population, and if we are going to be growing as a population, then we must have enough to sustain life. And while we sustain life, and we talk about resource, and we're talking about once there is production, there is waste, then you will understand too that where there is waste, then naturally, if it is not well managed, then we will have pollution. Now, pollution can threaten our lives, because pollution, the first thing that comes to mind is global warming for a lot of persons. And some persons can think about pollution, like we spoke about the gray skies of 1952, or you could think about acid rain. That is something on your syllabus, when we talk about the nitrogen cycle. You could think about acid rain. You could think about the change in weather pattern. You could think about, of course, the respiratory problems that might be associated with pollution. You can also think about how the pollution having gotten into the sea, or in our water bodies, how it affect the aquatic organism. In some cases, they are eating them, and as such, in Jamaica, we have actually banned the use of single-use plastic bags. We are using some now that are biodegradable, a big word that we want to look at in this lesson. Now, the material of concern when we talk about sustainable use of the environment, you wouldn't believe that you know all these materials. Outside of some toxic chemicals and so on that are waste product from manufacturing, some of the major thing are the major things on your syllabus that we have to look. Changing layers of the atmosphere. Very good. Some of the things that we have to be mindful of is, of course, papers. That is a problem. How much paper we use, because paper is manufactured from plants. That's a raw material. We have to think about glass that made from sand. That is another thing that we have to look at. It's a major problem. We have to look at metals. These are all the things that we use. We have to look at some type of plastics that are not biodegradable, and we have to look at some type of fabrics. So I spoke just now about 5 things, but I don't want to forget the many toxic chemicals that they are there. They are also pollutants that need to be managed. But for your syllabus, it is looking at paper, glass, metal, plastic, fabric. Some type of plastic, some types of fabric. Now, we want to be sure that if we are going to manage the resources that we have available, we want to ensure that when we are manufacturing stuff, we are manufacturing stuff that are biodegradable, things that are biodegradable, so that when we don't want them no more, or when they become worn, or when they become old, they can take care of themselves in the environment. The decomposers, which are of course fungi and bacteria. See how much time I'm telling about decomposer and bacteria. The decomposer and the bacteria, they are able to break down these organisms and of course release elements and nutrient that is of course trapped in them. Some of the biodegradable material would include our organic material, and I like to tell students that organic material are God made. God made them. The trees and the animals, God made. All right. Organic material, they are biodegradable. And remember, I told you yesterday that I am not seeing biodegradable on the exam paper. I am seeing biodegradation. So you need to ensure that you know this word. I did tell you that yesterday. Paper, they are biodegradable, but as we manufacture more paper, we are removing more trees. So we are going to be talking about that as we go down a little further in the lesson. Some textiles, some fabric, cloth, as you would call it, they too are biodegradable. So we need to know that we need to use more material that are biodegradable. Some plastic, now we see some new plastic bag coming around, and they too are biodegradable. Now the major problem lies with those things that are not biodegradable, which means that they cannot decay, or they are going to take a very long time to decay. Remember, if things are biodegradable, or if they are going to experience biodegradation, what it means is that they will naturally be broken down by our decomposers and our detritivores. Well, I did tell you about detritivores, that detritivores are larger than the decomposer. The detritivores would have been like your millipedes and your earthworm, those are, and your woodlice. Those are examples. But of course, the decomposers are the fungi and the bacteria, and they play a major role in recycling nutrient. Now, the major problem lies, like I said earlier, with the non-biodegradable material. The non-biodegradable material include most metals, glass, and most of the plastic that we use. Another major concern are those single-use material that we use as food container. You know, you go to the restaurant and you get some food in something, you use it one time. but it stays in the environment for almost forever because they are non-biodegradable. The question to you as a biologist and somebody who's been educated on this topic, do you think it's worthwhile using all these stuff? We use them one time and they give us a lifetime of problem. We use them only one time and they give us a lifetime of problem. Now we talk about some of the chemicals. Yesterday we spoke about DDT, right? And some of the fertilizers and some of these fancy chemicals that we use that end up through the percolator, they get into the soil. I don't want to use too much fancy agriculture term. They get into the soil, into our water body, and they increase the nutrient content of the water, leading to what we call eutrophication. So all that we have to think about, the things that we are using, all these detergents and so on, is it really worth it? Are we using too much? Is there anything else that we could use so that we don't use these and, of course, put the environment at risk? So we want to ensure in all this that what we're using, what we're consuming, what we're manufacturing, in most cases, they are biodegradable, so they will not become environmental problem or major environmental concerns. We spoke about eutrophication a while ago. Eutrophication, where the nutrient content increases in the water. And we spoke about that yesterday when we spoke about red tide and the algae blooming. I hope that you remember these little things that I tell you. Some of them, they are a little beyond the syllabus. But if you know them, they make fancy writing. All right? They make really fancy writing. And it says, you know something, yeah, this is like a one for the syllabus. How do we control all these things that are entering the environment that is about to cause, or in some cases causing major problem? I don't know if you have ever heard about the Great Garbage Barge. You could type that in. It's just a barge that was out there in the sea drifting. And you could look also, let us talk about pollution. I'm taking you a little bit out of the CXC syllabus today. Look for the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. That's another thing you need to look at. When we talk about pollution, in most cases, students are not seeing any pollution, They are only seeing the pollution in the textbook. I want you to go to YouTube and look for the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. And I want you to look at the garbage barge. And if you have not done your field trip and after COVID, you can get to go to a landfill. Look at what is happening to what you dispose of. What happens to it afterwards? If we have these graphic experiences, I think that we'll be well on the way to protect this beautiful environment. So to control, the control for what we're having now lies within 3 words, and in some cases, some persons would say 4. We will have to reduce, reuse, and recycle. We will have to reduce. Okay, Jawawan, we get that. Thanks much. We will have to reuse, reduce, and recycle. But I don't want you to leave here today just talking about reuse, reduce, and recycle. You need to understand what they mean. So we are going to be looking at that now as we come closer to the end of a presentation for today. So we spoke about the sustainable use of the environment. We spoke about the importance of using biodegradable material. We looked at some stuff that were biodegradable. We'll explore what it means when we talk about biodegradable. We spoke about non-biodegradable, and we'll look at some things that are non-biodegradable, metal, glass, plastic. We spoke about the single-use item that we've been using in the restaurants, so on and so forth, and other supermarkets and so on, and the problem that they are causing in the environment, fish kills and so on. We spoke about pollution of water body by many chemicals and so on. We spoke about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Being that you are on COVID lockdown, you have to use the technology to find it. So you could look at the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. You could look at the garbage barge, and you could also look at what is happening at the end of the Mississippi. What happened right at the end of Mississippi, the pollution problem that we have there, you could look at that as well. All right, so we spoke about the control being to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Now, when we reuse things, for example, if we have a can, probably you have like a milk tin, you could probably use it for a little soda can or probably a flower pot, or you could modify it to be like a pencil case. You reuse it. Soda bottles and so on, we tend to send back those to the factory so that they can be refilled. You could think about persons who are buying water. The water bottle is reused. We can get some more water in the bottle. Each time we go, we carry it. We think about the cylinder that you use for gas in the kitchen. It is reused. We don't throw away a cylinder after every use. We go, we pay for another cylinder, and we get a cylinder with gas, and then they fill that with gas and so on. That's an example of reusing. Composting. Of course, you bought some stuff at the farmer's market, and you don't just throw away the peels and so on into the garbage, and you end up having more garbage to go to the dump. You have a little compost at the back of your house where the organic remains are allowed to decompose. And of course, when it is decomposed, you're going to be using this humus as fertilizer. So there we're talking about reuse. All right. So you could just play the video to hear that again. I don't want to take away too much of your time. Then reduce. As it says, reduce. Use less. Use less. Get yourself a market bag or a shopping bag, and you use this bag over and over. You reuse it, and by virtue of you reusing this market bag to go to the supermarket, you are going to use less scandal bag. Right? You are going to use less of other container that will eventually end up in the dump. All right? Or end up in the river or the sea or something like that. You don't want to see Kingston Harbor after it rains in Jamaica. You really don't want to see it. It is really, really graphic with the amount of thing that floats on top of the water. All right? So you are supposed to reuse, you are supposed to reduce, you are supposed to reduce, reduce, and you are supposed to recycle. Now, recycle is the big word. Now, to recycle is when you collect material. In Jamaica, we collect a whole lot of plastic bottle and we put them in a big thing and we separate them and so on, and they are sent to different places. And then you have the scrap metal trade in Jamaica where persons go around and they collect different type of metal and they are packaged and they sent to somewhere and they are shipped out and they are recycled, made into something new. So when we recycle, it make it the waste is made into something new. Now there's a process where recycle is concerned, where you have to collect the material, you have to sort the material, you have to package the material, and you have to send it to the particular place that it is going to be used for something new. So collect material from waste, make them into some new product. That is what recycling entails. Now, we are now at the point where we want to look at what are the advantages of recycling material. Type the advantages in the chat there for me, and then we are just probably 5 minutes away from the end of this lesson. Remember that I tell you that in Jamaica, now the youngers bike, it is really a major problem. All right, so Tanisha, toilet paper to newspaper. I don't understand that, Tanisha. Tell me what you mean by toilet paper to newspaper. What does that mean? Toilet. So, yeah, so we're now looking at the advantages of recycling. Now I have made mention of a whole lot of stuff, and we're now looking at why we need to recycle. So, sir, that was an example of recycling. Toilet paper to newspaper, I don't know about that. This is new to me. Toilet paper. Toilet paper is tissue. We call it tissue in Jamaica. This white thing, and then what happens when you use it is usually flushed. So I don't understand how that works. But if you tell me, I will, of course, accept. Advantage would be less waste in the environment. That is the chief thing. If we recycle, we're going to have less waste in the environment. Another one, come on, guys. Don't fall asleep on me now. So Tanisha Nicely said out of Guyana that if we recycle, we're going to have less waste in the environment. Trinidad, if you recycle, tell me one advantage. Jamaica is saying, Giselle Gracie out of Jamaica is saying to recycle, it reduces pollution. So we'll have less pollutants if we recycle. So I've heard from Guyana, I've heard from Jamaica. Anybody else? St. Vincent, Macmillan. Give me an example, an advantage of recycling. So Guyana said that we are going to have less waste. Macmillan from St. Vincent is saying that it prevents pollution by reducing the need to collect new raw material. So this is two things here. Macmillan is saying that we are going to need less raw material if we recycle. If we recycle paper, so on. You remember some time ago when I was a little boy going to school, you couldn't write a letter on the front and the back of the same paper. You could only write on the front. It was just unethical to write on the back. Now I'm getting my utility bill and it's printed on both front and back. So you want to ensure that there is that we recycle, right? Because we are going to use less raw material. We are going to, of course, have less pollutant. Now, Trinidad and Tobago, Jawawan from Trinidad and Tobago, she's saying as recycling saves energy. Yeah, because there's little production that you can do without using energy. So if we recycle, we're going to be saving energy. Of course, the greenhouse effect, we're going to reduce that bit because we don't have to manufacture and release any harmful gases in the environment. She's also saying here, we don't need to collect it. Oh, that was Jawawan. She removed the stuff. She saved energy. What she had there was correct. I don't know what was at the end, but she deleted it. Tanisha is saying more places for plants to grow. So if we recycle, we are going to need less land to be used as a landfill. And we could use it as park where we plant more plants. We could have more green space. If we recycle, we are going to reduce our carbon footprint. So Tanisha out of Guyana is saying more places for plants to grow, leading to less carbon dioxide, leading to decreased global warming. Beautiful. You see the China event? Just by recycling, see what's happening? I want everybody to take part. You can write more than one time. I like to read what you write. I don't want you to think that the knowledge is all packed up in my head. No, I'm not the keeper of knowledge. Beautiful. So Jawawan is saying recycling saves energy. It also reduces greenhouse gas emission, which helps to tackle climate change. You see the chain effect there? What if everybody played their part? We are going to be saving ourselves and the generation to come. Macmillan says again, sir, will you say it also helps to create jobs if in the manufacturing industry? Yes, it creates jobs, but it's not so much a key thing. As you made mention of that, I remember a past paper question I would have seen either on 2015, 16, 17, or 18. One of those, I was working on it. And I remember there was a question there that it had asked, what is the chief reason for recycling? Now, while creating job is very, very important, which that is not really a chief reason, but it does create jobs. So you want to look at what is the best thing. The main reason for recycling here would be, among, of course, reduce the need for raw material, reduce pollution, reduce the need, reduce the land that is used for landfill. We don't have to have a lot of land for landfill. Let me give you some that I have here. We're going to be, let me see what Jazel Grace have before I move on. Matt Mellon, I hope I answered. Yes, Matt Mellon, you would ask, sir, will you say, yes, it does create job. I answered that, Matt Mellon. It creates job, but it is not the main thing for recycling. All right, it's a nice spill off, though. It's a spill off that we like. Of course, we need some chips. All right, Jazel Gracie, and it helps to conserve resources as well as to prevent loss of, oh, beautiful word. I love that word. Biodiversity. Biodiversity speaks to the many different organisms that we have. And we understand that because we are a part of a food web, we want to maintain biodiversity. So that's a beautiful word here from Jazel Gracie. Very good. So what I have here on my list is that, of course, less energy will be needed. Less energy will be used if we recycle. We are going to save on, of course, natural resource, as she made mention of biodiversity. Less toxic waste will enter the environment. We are going to have less pollution of our water bodies. We are going to have less pollution of soil. And of course, less land will be needed for disposal. So all those, including those that you have mentioned, are of course advantages of recycling. We really don't want to forget these. Now, this is the last part of the lesson. And this might be a little troubling to us, but we are now going to be looking at the difficulties that are encountered, the difficulties that they are when we try to recycle. Now, tell me in the chat, what are some of the difficulties encountered with recycling? We have those in Jamaica. Some might be in Barbados. Some might be in St. Vincent. Some might be in Grenada. Some might be in Guyana. Some might be in Trinidad and Tobago. Just tell me based on where you are, or what you think, or what you have learned. What are some of the challenges that we would encounter when we try to recycle? All right, as you type, I will make mention of one that might not be in your text. Culture. Culture, the people norms, what the people believe in, is very difficult to change culture. And if persons think that, hey, just throwing it over there, just throwing it behind me, everything is fine. Throwing it through the car window, everything is fine. All right? If it is not at my gate, it is fine. If I throw it in the gully, it is fine. Culture is a major problem where recycling is concerned. We have to change the mindset of people in order to get through with the whole idea of recycling. So culture is a big problem. I'm still waiting on you to type some of the challenges encountered when we try to recycle. Now, another thing with recycling is that it might be a little expensive, because you are going to need money to educate people. If you are going to tell persons about recycling who was just tossing things over the gully, tossing things at somebody else's gate, tossing things through the car window, we have to have an education campaign. So how well-educated persons are, that is a limitation where recycling is concerned. To recycle, we are going to need container, lack of education, very good, our information. We're going to need containers to recycle, and that is going to come with some amount of money. Of course, there are some drums that some companies will give you, but we're going to need drums that are properly labeled, containers that are properly labeled, because we have to sort the goods, sort the waste when we are disposing of them for recycling. Sir, does recycling produce its own waste besides the waste that is being transformed? Yes. Yes. Because if I were supposed to say that I'm going to be having a recycling, I'm going to start some recycling in Kingston, I might choose to print some brochure, some flyer, some poster. I want to put them in strategic location that persons can be educated, persons can be informed about the recycling program. Now, these posters in themselves are these posters that are being used, they too will contribute to products that are they will also act as pollutant. Or they can also act as pollutant. So let me give you the long list of stuff I have here. Collection is a problem. You have to pay people to collect it. Sorting is a problem. Persons have to be educated as to how to sort for recycling. You don't want to put paper and glass together. No, you have to separate them, put them in different containers. The containers must be labeled. I said containers are needed. I said that you are supposed to separate. Separation is needed. Of course, positioning the bins. The container that you are going to use to collect the waste for recycle, they must be strategically located so that persons don't come out and say, oh, me can't walk go so far to dispose of this thing or to put it in that bin. So how you position the container, that too is going to be a problem. Now, education that we made mention of, that is going to be another concern. You'll have to pay to educate the people. You might have to, like we started out by saying, you might have to use town cry. You might have to use print media. You might have to use the audio, video, radio, TV, that type of thing. You might have to use town cry. You might have to go to churches. You might have to go to youth clubs. You might have to go to school. But that in itself is going to come with some amount of cost. There's also the transportation need, the need to transport this product to be recycled from where it is to somewhere that it is going to be recycled. So we have transportation. And like Tanisha asked just now, with transportation, you're going to have some amount of oil spill. That is sort of pollution and pollutant in its own right. So, of course, you're going to create some amount of waste to recycle. But I hope that in creating this waste, we'll be able to manage the waste. There's also a need for storage space. So all these are limitations, are difficulties encountered when we attempt to recycle or when we are supposed to implement recycling. That is going to be it for class today. I do hope that we did impart that which you were looking for. If you have not yet subscribed and you enjoy what we presented today, I ask that you subscribe to the channel. I ask that you like, share. We want to continue to grow so that we can continue to serve you. Now, are there any questions or concern, or is there anything that you are not clear about while I went through? In some cases, I was just going and going. Is there anything that you want me to look at before we leave? There are some words around this topic that I made mention of. I made mention of biodegradable and biodegradation. Those are some words for you to look at. What are the other words we looked at yesterday? We looked at afforestation and reforestation. We also look at a reforestation. I don't know why Amoy is not here today, but I have not seen her. I really miss her. I don't know what's happening with Otisha. She was here earlier, and I have not heard from her since we've started. And a lot of other persons have not spoken. I've not seen CXC Spy. I remember everybody, and I'm not seeing you. I don't know what's happening. Tomorrow we have another live. Remember, this is a live that should have been done yesterday, but we had some issues and we're not able to finish yesterday, so we finished today. So tomorrow we have another live. Usually a Friday is reserved for grade 10, but what we're going to be doing, I think we're going to be continuing from where we left off today for grade 10. Sundays for grade 11, we're going to continue on whatever we're doing on Sunday. I'm going to be just looking at what we did, or we're going to be continuing on that. We're going to be releasing a video tonight. We're going to send out something on enzyme animation. We're going to show you pretty much how it works. And after we would have sent out what is enzyme, which is going to be a very short video, we're going to send out another video, not tonight. I don't think I am able to do it tonight, on the properties of enzymes. We're going to be breaking up that lesson into some small pieces. Please be reminded to tell your friends, encourage them to subscribe. Tell your church, tell your clubs, tell your teacher, look at what we have online. And if there is something that you're not sure about or something you want to talk to me about, don't be afraid to send me something in the chat. Jawawan is saying good night. Remember to go to my channel and look for the email address there and send me the 2019 paper. Or somebody can just post my email address. Just go over to my channel very quickly for me and just post my email address in the chat. Jazel, see if you can go over to the back end of my channel, get my email address and just post it over here so that persons who need to send something to the email, they can send it. Next week, we're supposed to be sending information or sending past paper for HSB. Yes, we have completed a lot of past paper, but we think that you have not consumed enough of the past papers that we have online. So they'll be coming out. They'll be coming out in short order, but we want to ensure that you know these past papers so that when you get the others and you see repeated questions, you know what the repeated questions are and you are comfortable. More so with these ever-changing words on the paper that you have never seen before, you are able to work with them. All right. So, sir, can we talk about the Bermuda Triangle? Well, the Bermuda Triangle is not on the syllabus unless you want us to talk about what is believed to be the gas emission from the seafloor. But that is something that I probably have to talk to you outside of this class on, because I can't see where it is captured in the syllabus for me to look at the Bermuda Triangle. It is nowhere in any of the subjects that I teach. It's not in NV, it's not in Bio, it's not in Agri, it's not in HSB. So I wouldn't be covering that on this show, but you could talk to me outside of the show and I could tell you a little bit about the Bermuda Triangle. I have looked at the Bermuda Triangle because it fascinates me. So, of course, I have looked at that. So, we have one more topic to cover in ecology. And as soon as we would have covered that topic in ecology, we are good to go where ecology is concerned. And it is the effect of human activity on the ecosystem. What you're going to find is that some of the things that we have looked at so far, we are going to be looking at some of them again. However, that is going to be nice because it's going to make it very, very easy for you. All right, we are going to be looking at endangered species. We are going to be looking at vulnerable organism, reason for increase in extinction rates. We are going to be looking at that. We are going to be looking at deforestation, and then again, afforestation is going to come up. We are going to look at how we could reduce the risk of some things, and we're going to be looking at some pollution. Those persons from deforestation is even a big topic over here. I think we're going to be taking about two more Fridays to complete this. We're going to be looking at sewage treatment as well. I think I'm going to be doing an animation for sewage treatment because there's so much to cover there that just looking at a picture, I want you to see exactly what is happening. And if we can slow it down and put it in something that you can look at, we are going to be doing that. But we have a very nice little part, left here to look at. And then that will take us to the end of ecology for biology. And once we would have completed ecology, we are going to continue with life processes. Where are we? We completed circulation, so we move away from that. Let me see what's been said here, sir. Okay. Tanisha, sir, teaches agri. Yes, I teach agri, but I have never ever taught agri at CXC level since I left college. Never. Yeah, I'm a trained agriculture teacher, but I've never taught it at that level. I'm very sorry. I have been teaching bio for a number of years, environmental science for a number of years, human and social biology for a number of years, teaching agriculture for a number of years, but I've only taught agriculture at grade 8 and grade 9. All right, but my friend over there in St. Mary, Mr. Chen's teaching, he is the guru in agriculture. He would have been the person who was, of course, teaching agriculture right up to CXC. So if you have some challenge with agriculture, check out Mr. Chen's teaching. He is my classmate. I think we did I think we did a bachelor's together. When I did my first bachelor, we did that together. I think we did, agriculture. When I did a bachelor in agriculture, he was there with me. So he should be able to provide some help. All right. So do we have any other questions? All right, good. So let me tell you what is significant about today. As we wrap, we just have a few minutes and we can just chat. The class is actually finished. But if you want to chat with me and tell me about your country and so on, your island and so on, I'm here. What is significant about today? Today, for the first time you're ever going to hear me say this, today we reached 800 subscribers. Today, we reached 800 subscribers. And you would understand that we are not 4 months old as yet. We are pretty much 3 months old, going on to 4. Today, we reach 2,000 watch hour. We have more than 100 videos online. We have not posted any significant video since the 24th of October. Yesterday was the first we actually post some new content in the live. Today we post some new content in the live. And then this evening we are going to be posting some animation for enzymes. Can I say I am begging you, please? Once the video is of interest to you, watch it to the end. Leave us a comment. If the video is foolish, just say, Mr. Wilson, I don't like this video. Could you have done this or done that? And we'll make the change in a video to come. All right? It's going to take us some time to cover everything on the syllabus. And that is why we're doing some live, because I completed one entire topic in the live. The live is much easier to do than to do a video. Because on the live, I just talk. I start making notes now because I want to ensure I start to make my little notes now. So when I come to you, I have some notes. With the videos, I have to do a lot more. All right, this is like handwriting, and I write very fast, and it's like PowerPoints. So I write like little jottings, and then I elaborate. In the videos, I make notes because there are some students who don't have any notes. I do notes in the video. This is like PowerPoint that I did just now. Just a little point and so on. So thank you very much, Tanisha. To that round of applause. So we need to Amoy. Amoy, I've been asking about you. Where were you? hey, wanna realize Amoy Lawrence over there protest for me? Wanna realize Amoy Lawrence is saying, I can assure you, when you post those HSB past paper, I will watch them to the end. Amoy, I don't know why you're bothering me up like that. Amoy, I don't know if you were here earlier. You were here at the start of the show? Yes, no? Amoy? The feed might be a little slow. But Amoy, you asked a question yesterday, which I addressed at the start of the show. You wanted to know if population was on the syllabus for HSB. And I said to you, yes. Okay, that's fine. You can watch the video. I said to you, yes, the population is a part of the HSB syllabus. So after the show, I went and I did some checks. And I can assure you that population is on the syllabus, and it even go a little more in depth for HSB. So you want to be a part of the show for Wednesday. We have decided, my team and I, we have decided that we are going to now split the show that on a Wednesday we are going to be doing more HSB than biology. Why we're going to be doing more HSB? Because we have realized that at this point of the year, the syllabus, they are now going in sort of two different directions. We're going to be doing more on some topics in HSB and more on some topics in biology. For example, we're going to be looking at disease in depth, more in depth for HSB than we do for biology. There are some things though that are the same. I'm going to show you a question. Just stay with me. I'm going to show you a question that was question number 60. It was question number 60 on 2018 multiple choice paper, and it was question number 60 on 2017. So the same question finished both year multiple choice paper, 60 on 2017, 60 on 2018. And this particular diagram is both a part of HSB and biology. So I'm going to show you one of the books I use as a resource book. And of course, this book was given to me. I like to tell you the books that they give to me. All right. So this is a book that they have given to me. Right. And so I need to tell you, I have to put a disclaimer. I don't want you to feel like, hey, you get the book, the same I talk about the book, them not talk about no other book. This is a diagram. This diagram ended both 2017 and 18. And this diagram is both a part of the bio syllabus and it is a part of the HSB syllabus. It's a diagram. But come to talk about that. Amoy, you sent me a question around insulin some time ago, and I answered and told you about genetic engineering. This is the whole thing, the recombinants where we use the bacteria and to make the insulin stuff. Remember, you sent me that some time ago. So when I told you that both papers, if a topic is in the HSB syllabus and I'm teaching biology, trust me, I have looked. I am sure some of the multiple choice questions that are in the biology paper is the exact ones on the multiple choice paper for HSB. I am sure of that. Good. So we're going to be treating with that. I am going to be working your HSB paper for you. I know that you have me up feet because I'm always talk about bio. But the thing I said since night is that if you hear me talking about bio, it also means HSB because we see HSB as biology as well. Now, remember those students who are in grade 10, if you are here from grade 10 and you are doing human and social biology, remember that you will be doing a SBA. If you are in grade 10 and you are doing human and social biology, remember that you are going to be doing a SBA. And Amoy Lawrence, make sure you get a 1 for HSB. Because if you don't get a 1 for HSB and you plan on doing it over, you will have to do a SBA. All right. So I'm here. I'm ready. I'm charged. It's very nice to see you guys again. I really missed you over the holiday. Yesterday we had some problem and I deleted the software off the system and I reinstalled the software this morning and then I stream. I don't know if you know, every morning I stream past paper. Every single morning, I start streaming between 5:30 and 6 o'clock, and I stream past papers. So if you come onto the internet or come onto YouTube, you will see me either streaming as, just look for my little logo, the little blue dot with CSEC Biology TCP, and you will see me streaming the biology past paper as either CSEC seminar. I start to put Mr. Wilson there because I realize that a lot of you know Mr. Wilson. So I start to put Mr. Wilson there. But every morning between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock, I stream at least 2 hours of past paper. Every morning. I know that you guys didn't know because them time now not sleep. But every morning I stream past paper. So those persons who are asking about revision, like Jawawan from Trinidad, yes, I have started revision. There's no better revision than using the past paper. And I said yesterday when I started my class that if you're planning for the Olympics, you are going to practice on a track. And if you know you are going to run the 100 meter, you are going to practice doing some 100, some 200, and some 300 and 400, whatever meters they practice, you are going to practice that. So I am saying to us, if you are going to be doing biology and you're planning on clocking the one, where once you're here, I'm sure that you want a one, you need to start the past papers early. So now, this is what I'm asking you to do. Look at those past papers that are worked now and the explanation. And then I want you to know to get up. Just like a Jawa want to have some past paper. Then I want you to start working your past paper and see if you can explain and understand the rationale why the answer is this and why the answer is not like and why the answer is not that. You are able to, I'm going to even tell you, when I do the new papers, I'm going to tell you where in the textbook, depending on which textbook you are using, where you can find the answer in the textbook. Because in some cases, we think that the questions are from out of the sky. They cannot set the CSEC syllabus. They can't set the CXC exam unless it is in keeping with what is written in the syllabus. It must be in keeping. Don't tell me that they have biodegradation on the exam paper and it's biodegradable they have in the syllabus. It's one and the same. Who said that you must learn like a train track? You need to understand a little bit more. And that is why I came and I was giving you all of these things. I give you a whole heap of things this evening. I tell you about I tell you about Bhopal gas tragedy, and we're going to talk about that when we get over there, the last part of ecology. I told you about the Love Canal. I told you about the RLC. I told you about the grey skies of England. We spoke about hurricane. You have Hurricane Gilbert. I could tell you about a lot of those stuff, right? We spoke about water. That water could be renewable and non-resource. We spoke about so many stuff this evening. I think it was a wonderful evening. I don't know what you think. Anyhow, I am not going to hold you any longer because I'm going to release the enzyme video this evening. It's going to be a short video. When you get the video, see, watch the video and share it with your contacts. Even your enemy, them when they are school, send it to them, right? Ask them to like, share, and subscribe, and let us keep the thing rolling. And let me tell you something. When you don't come to my class and don't get a one for bio and HSB, you know, make sure so now I get a one for bio and HSB. The labs, how are we with labs? This is the last thing I want to talk about. Let me start with Jawa one. The persons who are doing biology, how are you with lab? Good, bad, in there? Tell me. Labs, biology students, whether you are in grade 10 or 11, what's your status with labs? The bio students, give me a lab status. Good, bad, so-so. All right, still have to do one. Which one you have to do, Tanisha? I'm good with the labs. Giselle Grace, remember that your teacher is watching here. So you say you're good enough, so we know your teacher will hold you to that. Goodish. Tanisha is saying goodish. All right, Tanisha, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to type out the labs, the topics that you have done in labs. Right? I don't really understand them. Then hold on. Then you say you're good, and now you say you don't really understand. If you don't understand, and we have to do a live and lab and explain them, you know, we can shoot up that with ease. So don't say you're good and you know you're not good. You have a lot of persons in here who are good and some that's just the drawing. All right. So the drawing, I have a guideline on drawing. If you go to my channel, you could look for lab skills and it will give you a guideline on drawing. What are you drawing though? Oh, you said that you're not good. Oh, sorry. You said that you're not good. All right. Giselle, I'm going to ask you, have you looked at the lab skill? You could go to my channel and look at lab skills. Because the first thing you need to understand is about the lab skills. If you understand how the lab skills, then you can now go over to where we have biology experiment on the channel, that playlist. And there is a video that says diffusion explained and written up. That video it shows you exactly how the lab is to be written. exactly how the lab is to be written. But if you go and watch the video as to how the lab is to be written and you never watch the lab skill, then you are going to still have a problem writing up the lab. So what we have done, we have separated the videos recently, put the lab skills by themselves, put the labs by themselves. So if you do that, you shouldn't be having any challenge. And when you come next time and I ask about lab skills, I want you to be very specific. I want you to say that this is the problem or that is the problem, and we are going to solve it right here. All right, so Tanisha, for the flower diffusion food test. Oh, so you are drawing the flower. Oh, that is going to be a big drawing. Not many students can draw. Are you drawing the flower from a book? Or are you drawing the actual flower? You're drawing a flower from a flower. Oh, you're drawing it from a book. Okay, I see. You see, the problem with that, CXC doesn't like that. But if that is what you have to do, is that is what you have to do. You could, I don't know why you teach. For me, my students, they do draw the flower. But I just like mark it as seen. But as to drawing, I have my students draw a leaf where they can do the magnification and get the actual thing. Because remember that some of the details you have to leave out when you are doing drawing. So you don't draw all those veins in a leaf when you are drawing. Tell me though, Tanisha, have you looked at my playlist for the labs? I have all the 8 labs. Well, I haven't done anything for planning. You do planning and design already, Tanisha? Have you completed planning and design? I haven't done a video for planning and design as a skill. There we go. It's usually the last lab I do with my kids as well. I haven't done the skill for planning and design, but I'll be doing it soon. And I'll also provide an example of a write-up. We are not going to do a video on implementation. It is too big. So what we suggest that you do, go to the back of the syllabus, go online and type in this biology syllabus. You will see an example of the implementation there, and you might see an example of planning and design. The planning and design there is sort of complex. We're going to be doing a simple one so that you can remember, the implementation is the big thing, It is marked out of 20 while the other labs are marked out of 10. Right? So you want to do that. Tell me though, Tanisha, have you looked at my labs, the playlist? I did some labs that are in keeping with the 8 labs that are in the back of the biology syllabus. If you have not looked at them, you need to go and look at them. If you have not looked at lab skills, you need to go and look at the video that we have on lab skill ORRMM. I think in the ORR we did cover AI, which is analysis and interpretation. We have skills over there for drawing. We have all those stuff. I watched the diffusion. Well, there's everything there, we have all the food. No, we don't have non-reducing sugar. We haven't put up anything on non-reducing sugar as yet, but we have all the tests outside of non-reducing sugar. We have even done the grease spot test. We have done the emulsion test with oil. So we have just one food test, which is the one with non-reducing sugar. And I need to do the non-reducing sugar. Let me tell you why I need to do the non-reducing sugar. When we do the non-reducing sugar, in most cases, teachers are just concentrating on the color change and the reagents. But on your multiple choice paper, when it gives you that, it is asking you about hydrolysis. And in most cases, students don't know anything about hydrolysis. So when they see that color change that say brick red, the first thing that comes to their mind is reducing sugar. But once you see hydrolysis, it is non-reducing sugar that you are testing for. So I am definitely going to do that and ensure the non-reducing. I'm going to do an animation for the non-reducing sugar so that I can cover the hydrolysis that I am seeing on the multiple choice paper. That when you get to the exam, you're not saying hydrolysis. What I don't know what that is. We have also done germination. But the germination that we did, we showed the plant itself growing. But I think I did have the disclaimer that the roots are growing there, but you just can't see them in the cotton. So don't mistake germination for the shoot growing. Germination, it takes in both shoot and root, but you're not seeing the root, but the root is there. That is on the syllabus. We did respiration, and we did the respiration that is most time on the exam, the one with the rat, that is most time on the exam. We did also the choice chamber. What we used was a box, but the choice chamber is something that looks like a petri dish. And of course, the petri dish one usually have partition in the bottom and so on. That usually come on the multiple choice paper as response. It is always on the multiple choice paper. It's either the response that we look at the millipede, the wood lice, or which one of those, or the response where we look at the plant changing direction based on light. So either the one with the plant or the one with the invertebrates, either of them, they are usually on the multiple choice paper. And that is why I want you guys to do a minimum of 5 years past paper to include the most recent years, so that when you get to that exam paper, you are well on your way. Amoy, sir, I have yet to hear you mention reproduction, or did I miss that? No, we have not covered reproduction as yet. We have not. What I did, I jumped over and I went to genetics, but we have not touched reproduction. We have not touched mitosis or meiosis. And I do understand that, of course, the menstrual cycle continue to be a major problem for everybody. I don't know why we're not understanding the menstrual cycle, but I know, is that your concern, Amoy? Is the menstrual cycle your problem over by reproduction? All right, let me tell you what I'm going to do for you. If you go to my channel, either in community or discussion, I'm going to put up the schedule for all the lessons that I will be doing on the live, so you can know when what lesson is coming. All right. So I'm going to be putting them up on the live, and as much as possible, I'm going to look at the objectives that it covers in the syllabus and also try to attach it to what we have there. All right. Yeah, man, the menstrual cycle. The menstrual cycle is on a couple of multiple choice paper, and I know that it is a problem for a lot of persons. We're going to be looking at that. As it were, for meiosis, meiosis tend to be a problem more than mitosis. We're going to be looking at that as well. And like I like to say, we're going to bring the Caribbean perspective to it. I'm going to look in the book to see where we're having challenges. I'm going to listen to some teachers. What are some of the issues you're having with the kids, and see how we can overcome that with some videos. But we are pretty close we're pretty close to reproduction. I'm sure we're going to get it. We're going to do both video and live on reproduction. So you don't need to worry. It's coming up shortly. All right. The menstrual cycle. I think we were working on the menstrual cycle. We're working on the multiple choice paper, and the menstrual cycle came up. And trust me, the menstrual cycle, they can ask some question on the menstrual cycle. When you finish, read the book and read the book 2, 3, 4, 5 times. You can't find that answer. And we have seen that. So we know that it is a big problem for a lot of students. And we have seen the CSEC reports and so on. Photosynthesis continues to be a problem for a lot of students. That I don't know why. That I don't know why. There is a word that comes up in photosynthesis called etiolation. Etiolation, that is another big word. In the response lab, where they cover the top of the plant with something black, and then they ask which one will grow the fastest, and it's the one will cover the one that is covered by the black. The explanation around that has to do, you have to go back around to photosynthesis in your textbook to look for the word etiolation. That is the explanation for that. If you are like for what's her name? Jawawan, who is doing past paper. If you come upon that question where you have some shoots being covered and some cut off and so on, responding to light, it is the etiolation. It's because of etiolation why the plant grow the way it does. All right. So any question, any other concern? If not, it's going to be good evening until we meet tomorrow. I am going to ensure that I release that enzyme video this evening, and I'm going to ensure that, well, everybody have to watch, because it's both bio and HSB. Bio kids, HSB kids, you need to know it. HSB, remember that you are going to need to label diagrams for your exams. Remember, Tanisha, bye sir. Bye Tanisha, bye Amoy, bye Jawawan, bye Giselle, bye Macmillan, bye everyone, those persons who are in distant land. Good evening. Thanks much for being with us. Be reminded to like, share, and subscribe, and join us on a Sunday, Friday, and Wednesday at 5:05 p.m. We'll be here smiling and ready for you. Remember to watch our videos, like them, and share them. Big up on yourself, Magan, out of Jamaica. Bye-bye. Good evening.